ඔෆිස් එකේදී විතරක් නෙවෙයි මම දැන් ගෙදරදිත් IDD කෝල්ස් ගන්නේ SLT ෆෝන් එකේ.
ඔබේ නිවසේ SLT දුරකථනය දැන් IDD පහසුකම සහිතයි.
Making headlines on First at 9. Mystery solved. Late Dr. Lester James Pierce's stolen medal. The golden peacock recovered.
Today we are happy that it had finally been returned.
Without prejudice, the State Timber Corporation gets a new chairman as the president pledges to exercise the rule of law to the letter against bribery and corruption. Time to cool down. The Department of Meteorology warns of heat up to 52 degrees Celsius. Indian Met Department unconvinced. No action, no position. Minister of Sports suspends the Director of Sports over inaction. Time for change. North Korea moves clocks forward to keep up with South Korea time zone. A very good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Katharina Chang. I want your top story tonight. The missing medal, Golden Peacock, which was an award won by acclaimed film director and producer, late Dr. Lester James Pierce, was found today from a private bus. Police spokesman SP Gunasekara said the prestigious Indian medal was found from an overhead luggage rack of a private bus plying from Kaduwela to Kolpiti along Route 177.
The medal, received along with the Golden Peacock Award, won by late Dr. Lester James Pierce in 1965, went missing on the 2nd of May during his funeral proceedings. A mobile phone of a relative of the late film director was also stolen on the same day, and the events were recorded on CCTV. Following a complaint lodged with the police by a relative regarding the two incidents, police launched an investigation into the matter. Meanwhile, a driver of a private bus plying from Kaduwela to Kolpiti had received an anonymous phone call inquiring whether there was a package in the particular bus. The driver had then kept the package safely in the bus, expecting the owner's return. It was in this backdrop that an individual had made phone calls to the Bambalapitiya and Kolpiti police stations saying that the missing Golden Peacock medal is in a private bus that journeyed from Kaduwela to Kolpiti. The police had acted immediately and searched the bus at the Kolpiti bus stand, where they found the missing Golden Peacock medal on an overhead luggage rack of the bus. The police then took custody of the medal. The driver and the conductor of the private bus were questioned at length today at the Bambalapitiya police station. Since the individual who made the phone calls is yet to be identified, the police is forging ahead with their investigation. Police say that the medal will be returned to the family of late Dr. Lester James Pierce once the investigations are concluded. The police have also decided to obtain a valuation report of the discovered medal from the Gem and Jewellery Authority. The late iconic film director and producer received the award for the film Gamperaliya at the 3rd New Delhi Film Festival in 1965. It was late Dr. Pierce's first international award. Meanwhile, actor Ravindra Randenia expressed views on the developments of the incident.
The image of Sri Lanka was internationally defamed by robbing the most prestigious award that Sri Lanka's greatest filmmaker had earned by removing that award a minute before his body was removed from his residence. It was a serious crime and it brought disgrace to our country. Today we are happy that it had finally been returned. As artists, we made appealing requests to the person who took it away to return it. We thank Derana for spearheading this movement, taking this appeal to the people. I think that has generated good results.
President Maithripala Sirisena insists that the rule of law will be implemented without prejudice over bribery and corruption. Addressing a function in Polonnaruwa this morning, the head of state pledged to make necessary decisions without trepidation to uproot corruption from all sectors, including the civil service. International Family Health Day was celebrated under the auspices of President Maithripala Sirisena and Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine Dr. Rajda Senaratne at Royal Central College in Polonnaruwa today. A special plaque was presented to the President during the event.
අතිගරු ජනාධිපති මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමන් වෙත
ජනාධිපති කාර්ය මණ්ඩල ප්‍රධානී කියලා කියන්නේ
You saw that my chief of staff, who is by position and equal to that of a ministerial secretary, being arrested over allegations of bribery. 3 people who have held similar positions under 3 presidents have gone to prison. The chairman of the State Timber Corporation, who was arrested recently, was a retired official after serving as a ministerial secretary. He was the chief of staff of former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga. The chief of staff of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa is out on bail after being arrested on allegations of corruption. My chief of staff, who was arrested, hasn't even completed 1 month in the position. The reality is that all 3 chiefs of staff of 3 presidents are in prison. It is essential to look into the happenings of all sectors, including state and political. The civil servant and the politician should never become the object of disgust in the eyes of the public. We as a government will take every possible decision to uproot bribery and corruption in the country across all sectors. It is also essential to exercise the rule of law without prejudice, and we will do just that.
Meanwhile, Anuruddha Polgampola accepted his letter of appointment as the new chairman of State Timber Corporation last evening from the president. Consumer Affairs Authority emphasizes that the increase of milk powder prices will only be applied to full cream milk powder manufactured both locally and overseas from today onwards. Accordingly, the retail price of a 400-gram packet of milk powder manufactured from today onwards will be 345 rupees, and the retail price of a 1 kilogram packet of milk powder will be 860 rupees. The retail price of milk powder was increased from midnight yesterday following a recommendation by the Committee on Cost of Living to the Consumer Affairs Authority. The move resulted in the price of a 400-gram packet of milk powder going up by 20 rupees, with a 1 kilogram packet rising by 50 rupees. Meanwhile, National Movement for Consumer Rights Protection says that public in their daily life should start using milk in liquid form.
None of the governments so far have taken any action to uplift the national dairy industry. As a result, about 40,000 to 50,000 litres of milk go to waste. So the local consumers depend on imported milk powder. We request the consumers to start using milk in liquid form.
Meanwhile, several politicians expressed views on price hike in milk powder.
I personally didn't like the increase of milk powder prices, but they had to do so because the prices of milk powder are going up in the global market.
Increasing the prices of the milk powder is a crime against all children in this country.
The Department of Meteorology issued a heat advisory for areas of northern, eastern and north central provinces in the island today. Speaking to First at 9, Head of Climate Prediction Group for the Department of Meteorology in India, Dr. D.S. Pai says that this weather condition is owing to pre-monsoon season activity being experienced in the region.
Issuing a heat advisory today, the Department of Meteorology said that northern, eastern and north central provinces can experience hot weather conditions ranging between 38 and 52 degrees Celsius tomorrow. People in the districts of Kurunegala, Gampaha, Matale and Badulla have also been advised to take necessary precautions from the heat. Meanwhile, heavy rainfall is also forecasted in several areas across the country.
So heavy falls about 100 millimeters can be expected in some other places in southern province, central province, Sabarakamu province and Uva province, including the north central province as well. And especially mentioned the Kalutara district and Vaunia district. People need to be very vigilant with that situation, especially who are living in a mountainous area they need to be vigilant with the signs of the landslides. Also, Meteorology Department announced there might be heavy worm conditions in some districts, in some provinces, northern province, eastern province and north central province. So they need to take precautions to minimize the dehydrating possibilities.
In the meantime, speaking to First at 9, Head of Climate Prediction Group for the Department of Meteorology in India, Dr. D.S. Pai says that pre-monsoon season activity is causing the current weather conditions experienced in Sri Lanka.
That is mainly because of, heating. Now the pre-monsoon activity over southern part, particularly the western part of Sri Lanka, southwest part, are likely to get thunderstorm activity in the evening, afternoons. In the northernmost part, clear sky, So next 2-3 days, there is a chance of thunderstorm activity over western part of Sri Lanka. There will be, one day or other, when clouding will come, when moisture will come because of the heating, you will get thunderstorm activity. So even within 1 or 2 days, you should get again, even that again, northern part also, you should expect the thunderstorm activity, or at least the formation of thunderstorm clouds in evening. Because of that, temperature will come down occasionally. Whenever cloud will form, temperature will come down.
The Malunga fortress, which has a rich archaeological value, has been demolished to make space for the construction of a new housing project by the National Housing Development Authority. This fortress is part of the renowned Vijayapura fortress built by South Indian King Elara, who held the throne of Sri Lanka from 204 to 164 BC. Responding to Derana's inquiry, the Divisional Secretary of Ipologama in Anuradhapura accepted that the fortress was demolished as the officials did not know the archaeological value it held. Following a request by the manager of the Housing Development Authority in Anuradhapura, Divisional Secretary of Ipologama had released 15 acres of land for a housing project. The land in the Pogolagama village was once home to the famous Malunga fortress with a high archaeological value. Before being demolished, the land still held remains of some of its most prominent features. History states that Malunga fortress was used by the South Indian King Elara for spying during the war between the foreign king and rightful heir to country's throne, King Dutugamanu. Residents of the area showed Derana as to how much of a damage has been caused following the demolition process.
It is clear that this was more of a treasure hunt than a housing project.
Residents complained that the demolition process continued amid their protests under the purview of the Housing Development Authority and Grama Seva officer.
We made sure to let the government officials know that this was a land with high archaeological value. We kept asking them to find out how important the site is before they started the development process, but they never listened. They kept saying it was their job since the divisional secretary gave them permission and no one can therefore interfere.
When Derana went to inquire about the incident from the divisional secretary, she was not present at the Ipologama divisional secretariat. Assistant Divisional Secretary IGRI Bandara, however, responded to our inquiries.
It was on legal basis that we gave the land, and the map actually indicated areas of archaeological value. We removed those areas before giving permission for the housing project. However, the construction vehicles have gone to these areas during the demolition process. We immediately stopped the demolition once we got to know that.
Derana then contacted the Divisional Secretary of Ipologama in Anuradhapura, Sajida Banu, who accepted that she was unaware of the archaeological value the land held at the time when she allocated the site for the housing project. Meanwhile, Director General of Archaeology, Professor P.B. Mandavala, stated to Derana today that under the Antiquities Ordinance, severe action will be taken against the Ipologama Divisional Secretary, Grama Seva Officer and relevant officials of the Housing Development Authority regarding the incident. The Derana campaign, which champions humanity above everything else, has caught the eye of a group of Sri Lankans living in Australia. Yesterday, they donated 1 million rupees to the campaign, a sum they raised by selling packets of food. The Derana campaign was hatched to provide some sort of relief to those suffering from kidney disease. The Australian Society, called Sri Lankan Friends of Sydney, recently launched a special program in a bid to accumulate a fund to contribute towards Derana. They made the move to cook and sell packets of food in an effort to accumulate the money. In doing so, they managed to raise 1 million rupees, and one of their representatives arrived at the head office of TV Derana with the sum. All of you can come to the aid of those suffering from kidney disease by joining hands with Derana, irrespective of where you may be, whether you're in the country or abroad. Underworld figure Dilip Rohan Rodrigo, also known as Dileepa, has been killed in a shootout with the Police Special Task Force at Mailapitia in Kandy today. Dileepa, who is a member of an organized criminal gang, is also a known accomplice of D. Manju, who was a prominent underworld figure and drug kingpin, killed in a shootout with the STF on the 23rd of February. Now let's take a look at some of the stories making news across Sri Lanka. The buildings of the Sena Nayakarama located within the Lankapura Divisional Secretariat in Polonnaruwa is heavily dilapidated. Vast number of devotees flock to this temple and its chief incumbent as well as contributors call on the relevant authorities to do the necessary renovation work as soon as possible. The temple has not undergone renovation for the last 60 years. A three-wheel driver kidnapping a woman in the area of Oganwatte in Matugama on the 29th of last month was captured on CCTV. The woman jumped out of the three-wheeler but succumbed while the police arrested the culprit and the suspect was remanded until the 19th. A man who was repairing a power line while being up an electricity pole in Elston Estate located in the area of Puakpitia in Avisavella succumbed after the pole collapsed and crushed him. A group of people who passed the examination conducted by the Public Service Commission to recruit school teachers in the Uva province launched a fast unto death campaign on Thursday in front of the Uva Provincial Council. They are demanding that they be given employment to withdraw the case filed at court which prevents it. Two of them had to be admitted to the Badulla hospital with ill health.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. The Essential Food Commodity Importers and Traders Association calls on the government to take proactive measures to encourage local farmers to grow onions. Speaking to First at 9, media spokesperson of the association, Hemaka Fernando, said that as the prices of big onions at an all-time low in the international market, the decision to impose a special commodity levy on onions and potato imports earlier this week is a welcome decision. Onion farmers in Dambulla, however, are faced with an unfortunate fate as they have taken a decision to halt harvesting onions due to several issues, including failed harvests and low-quality onion seeds. Currently, the world market price for big onions is approximately $200 per metric ton. The Ministry of Finance imposed a special commodity levy on the import of potatoes and big onions from yesterday. Thereby, the special commodity levy of 30 rupees per kilogram of potatoes was increased to 40 rupees, while the levy on a kilogram of big onions, which was at 1 rupees, was increased to 40 rupees. The ministry added that the decision was taken considering the decline on the import prices of these commodities. At a media briefing held recently, farmers from Dambulla, however, expressed their discouragement in growing big onions, citing several issues.
Mathale
district is one of the largest producers of big onions. Farmers normally cultivate 3,500 hectares of onions annually. However, at present, according to authorities, there has been a 50% decrease in cultivation. This is the season where we should have had an onion harvest, but these farmers have not made any preparations to cultivate onions. It is because there is no proper solution when it comes to the use of weedicide and are unable to afford fertilizer. Farmers cannot even sell onion seeds as there is no market for it. April is a month where we should have completed 80 to 90% of our cultivation, but we were unable to prepare this time given the inconducive situation for farming. Banks are also not willing to give farmers loans to settle debt and are therefore heavily inconvenienced.
Prior to the imposition of the special commodity levy, prices of imported big onions for wholesale produce stood at 40 to 45 rupees per kilo. However, prices have since doubled to 75 to 80 rupees per kilo. According to our correspondent, the current retail price per kilo of onions ranged between 80 to 100 rupees. Speaking to First at 9, media spokesperson for Essential Food Commodity Importers and Traders Association, Hemaka Fernando, said that the government should take measures to encourage farmers to cultivate essential food items.
The increase of import duty for onions and potatoes we consider as a very good thing. The reason being, the Dambulla farmers usually crop their product and they should have done this at least in the month of March. But we are already more than 1 month late. The world market price indices has come down drastically for potatoes, onions, garlic and very many other products. and this has affected and discouraged our local farmer to produce these 5 food items which we can produce locally. They are sugar, rice, chilies, onions and potatoes. A week we spend as much as $12 million a week for the import of these food items. Now this is what we can encourage the farmer to produce, and if we can stop this revenue going out of the country and at least a substantial portion of this country's requirement, if we can produce locally, we can bring a huge impact for the rising US dollar.
Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Federation of Tea Smallholdings Development Societies allege that even though the Minister of Agriculture announced the lifting of the ban of glyphosate, there has been no confirmed decision in this regard. They made this remark at a media briefing in Colombo today.
We've been experiencing a low yield in tea plantations these days. There has been panic in the industry due to this. If the tea industry collapses, the country will be faced with a crisis. Plantations spend more money on weedicide than they do on fertilizer for tea production. We are not requesting glyphosate, but rather an alternative weedicide recommended by the Tea Research Institute. If they are going to remove the ban, then there is no issue. However, according to the information that we've received, this decision is still not confirmed and the President had not mentioned such a thing.
US job growth increased less than expected in April and the unemployment rate dropped to near a 17.5-year low of 3.9% as some out-of-work Americans left the labor force. The Labour Department's closely watched employment report today showed that wages barely rose last month, which may ease concerns that inflation pressures are rapidly building up, likely keeping the Federal Reserve on a gradual path of monetary policy tightening. US Labour Department data for March was revised to show the economy adding 135,000 jobs instead of the previously reported 103,000. That was the fewest amount of jobs created in 6 months and followed an outsized gain of 324,000 in February. Meanwhile, 2 Fed officials who are currently voting members of the central bank's rate-setting committee showed little concern about price pressures heating up and said they were keeping an open mind on the total number of rate increases needed this year. The Fed hiked rates in March and has forecast at least 2 more increases for 2018. Economists expect the unemployment rate in America will drop to 3.5% by the end of the year. Up next is a short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
A series of fresh quakes, including a strong magnitude of 6.9, rocked Hawaii's Big Island yesterday, with videos showing people fleeing in fear after the terrifying tremors were shaking buildings. The U.S. Geological Survey said the 6.9 tremor happened at 12:32 p.m., a magnitude capable of causing severe damage. On Thursday, Kilauea began spewing lava into residential areas after a series of earthquakes over the past week, and the island experienced a flurry of earthquakes yesterday. A 6-point magnitude hit Hawaii's Big Island yesterday in a series of quakes, forcing terrified people to flee as buildings started shaking. The U.S. Geological Survey said the 6.9 tremor happened at 12:32 p.m., a magnitude capable of causing severe damage. The Kilauea volcano also spewed fountains of lava into communities on the Big Island, forcing hundreds of people, including many retirees, to evacuate their homes. The volcano, one of 5 on the island, began erupting on Thursday after a series of earthquakes over the past week. Residents in Leilani Estates and Lanipuna Garden subdivisions, home to about 1,700 people, were ordered to evacuate after public works officials reported steam and lava burbling up from cracks in the road. No injuries or deaths were reported. Aerial footage shared by Hawaiian residents on social media showed smoke as the Kilauea volcano erupted in on the Pacific island on Thursday. The United States Geological Survey released a time-lapse video of lava flowing from Hawaii's Kilauea volcano, filmed from day to night on April 25th to April 26th from the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. Let's now take a look at other stories making news across the world.
British-born academic David Goodall, who turned 104 last month, flew out of Perth Airport on Wednesday, headed to an end-of-life clinic in Basel to die through voluntary euthanasia. Voluntary euthanasia is not legal in his home state of Western Australia, and while Victoria last year became the first Australian state to legalise assisted dying, Goodall is not eligible as he is not terminally ill. Goodall was awarded a Member of the Order of Australia in 2016 for significant service to science as an academic, researcher and author. Chinese authorities are looking for a man who was filmed carrying a dolphin over his shoulder at a beach in the city of Guangdong. The man is believed to have taken the dolphin to his car before driving off with it. Witnesses say the animal had been found stranded on a beach in Hailing Island and appeared to be dying. A British-based conservation charity says a growing number of Asian elephants are being killed not only for their tusks but also for their skin, with dried elephant skin being ground into powder for use as an ingredient for traditional medicine products that claim to cure stomach ailments. It has published a report to highlight the threat, which appears greatest in Myanmar, which also says rectangular segments of polished skin were seen being sold as pendants. Researchers in northwest China's Qinghai province displayed video footage for the first time of a snow leopard in the Amnimachin mountain eating a dead yak. Recorded by infrared cameras, the footage shows a snow leopard tearing the dead body off the yak and eating the meat, with the leopard feeding on it 20 times in 4 days. Snow leopards are endangered species and they live in mountainous regions at an altitude of 2,500 to 4,500 meters above sea level, with 60% of the population in China.
The South Asian Junior Athletics Championship got underway at the Sugatadasa Stadium in Colombo today. On the opening day, Sri Lankan athletes set 4 championship records on the way to winning 5 gold medals. That being said, they had to face various difficulties over the last few days due to the conduct of certain officials.
There were media reports over the last few days of the injustices suffered by athletes due to the arbitrary conduct of the manager of the Sri Lankan team participating in the South Asian Junior Athletics Championship. Although he had prepared a letter with signatures from junior athletes proving his innocence, a voice recording later revealed that he had procured the signatures by misleading the athletes. Following the revelation, junior athletes who signed the letter removed their names from it. To compound matters, these athletes didn't have electricity at their lodgings at the Sports Development Hostel in Torrington yesterday. Although they didn't have electricity and water yesterday, neither the team manager nor the officials from the Department of Sports Development intervened to resolve the matter. When the news reached the Minister of Sports last night, measures were taken to relocate the team to a hotel in Bambalapitiya. In the meantime, the Minister of Sports today issued a statement saying that the Director of Sports will be suspended over the incident. It is evident that the suspension of the Director General of Sports would not be an adequate solution to such a matter, and athletes who are representing the country being subjected to such inconveniences on the eve of a sporting event is a serious cause for concern.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Manusha Jayathilaka is at the Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now your temperatures for tomorrow may vary between 21 to 32 degrees Celsius. And moving on to your rain forecast, there will be rains across the island because of the low-level atmospheric disturbance in the vicinity of Sri Lanka. This will of course bring about rains in the western, southern, central, Sabaragamuwa and Uva provinces as well as in the Kalutara and Vavuniya districts. Misty conditions meanwhile can be expected across many provinces during the mornings. That's it from your weather center tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
And before we go tonight, we'd like to take you to Chinese city of Xi'an, where 1,374 illuminated drones broke a Guinness World Record for the most unmanned aerial vehicles simultaneously airborne. As part of the performance, the drone formation spelled out a popular political slogan and paid tribute to President Xi Jinping's cornerstone foreign policy initiative, One Belt, One Road. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.